Thank you so much for joining me. Hopefully you've got everything you need already gathered, some blocks. If not, you can always pause. Enough, you need a yoga mat or at least as much room as a yoga mat, a blanket. I've got something to drink. This session will probably be a moderate to intense. So make sure you take care of yourself and you keep yourself safe and supported at all times. All right, find that comfortable seat, letting yourself settle in on your breath. Remember, at any time that your legs feel uncomfortable, please arrange yourself so that you don't feel uncomfortable, knowing that the point is never to, sit in agony. Breathing full and deep, let the awareness come to your breath, whether you close your eyes or you just have a slight gaze in front of you, not really focused on anything. And you let that breath get full and deep. Taking your time to unhook from everything that's going on in the world as much as you can, everything going on in your life as much as you can, and just be with yourself right here, right now. Taking that time to connect to your breath and pay attention to how you feel. And this is where you set aside the judge and the jury and you cultivate the witness. This is where you set aside harsh words, tones with yourself, and meet yourself with kindness, compassion, and love. When you're ready, that breath becomes 3 parts. You fill up the lower third, then the middle third, then the upper third, and then release fully, upper, middle, lower. So let that 3-part yoga breath help to keep you anchored even more in your body, more in the very present moment. And when you're ready to let it get really full and deep as you fill up that lower third, press your navel in the space in front of you. As you fill up that middle third, feel those ribs move up and apart, and then the breath goes into the upper third. Your heart lifts in your chest, and then you exhale, heart and chest relax, ribs move down and together, and then at the end, when you release that last third, you pull that navel back and up into your body. And then the inhale happens again. You fill up, you press that navel out. Navel, ribs, chest. Exhaling fully, chest, ribs, navel. Stay in that awareness of your body. Remember, you are not judging. You are just observing. Feel yourself ground from within as you press down from your center. Your navel is your center. Think about pressing down from that place. You can engage if you'd like by bringing a slight tilt to that pelvis by tucking the tail and lifting the hip flexors, pressing the knees away, flexing the feet. Really try to press down for that anchoring in, that groundedness, and feel that come from within. And then on your exhale, from that same place you press down, as you press down, stretch, rise, lift up into all that space around you that you are meant to take up. So here's where you think about engagement or actively press yourself up, crown of the head, tops of the ears, closer to the sky. Notice that gentle pressure on the tops of your shoulders to lengthen that space at your neck. Keep lifting that heart and gently pull those blades down and tuck them in. They're not squeezed together, they're tucked in. And not only are you pressing down and lifting up at the same time, but you're also pressing right, left, east, west. Breathing full and deep, and be in yourself right here, right now. The front body, your navel, heart lifting, and then your back body, your blades, your dimples anchoring. Inhaling and exhaling, and you are you're residing, you're trying to find that place right in between where you feel supported as well as aware of the possibility and the potential for more. It's all coming from within. So when you seek those sorts of things out in the world, hopefully you're coming and looking within first. And the more you cultivate that, the more you're able to then tap into it when you need it. That's my intention for this practice, is to keep showing you where you ground down and anchor and support, and where you also lift and rise from that place of support. Your hands can make their way to your heart in a prayer position. Please take a couple breaths to add a personal intention or expand on the one that I've set for you all and myself. And then whether you open your eyes or not, doesn't matter. We're going to keep those girdles engaged, keep pressing down and lifting up as we reach as wide as feels good. Keep those, like I said, shoulder girdles engaged to support you, and then pull those hands down into your heart. So keep trying to pull those shoulders out of your ears, those blades down. Inhaling and exhaling. Third time. And then let yourself unwind from that seated position, letting your legs come out from underneath you, starting to do a little windshield wiper back and forth in order to wake up those hips. You're in charge of how close or how far apart your legs are. Eventually you're going to feel complete, and you can then extend them down your mat. This is a great place for some blocks. Start with that and bring those blocks somewhere on your legs. You're pressing down, you're supporting yourself, you're pulling that tail down, lifting those hip flexors. You really sometimes have to bend your knees a lot. Try to keep those kneecaps and toes pointing to the sky, and I am really using my weight to dig my heels in. So not only my heels are digging in, but my sitting bones are digging in. And then this is basically a forward fold seated, right? You're going to lift, and now you're halfway up, flat back. You might feel a lot of sensation all down your back as you lift that heart and tuck those blades. Inhaling and exhaling, whether you reach wide like we already did, or decide to go straight up, or instead decide to hinge with your row down here. It really is up to you. You don't have to come all the way to your toes, but the more you try to keep yourself grounded and lifted at the same time, the more you're going to notice how you have control of both those things. All right, pause. Reaching for those feet. You don't have to make your way all the way to the feet. You can even use the blocks, but stay grounded and lifted. Even get in here and mess around with that lower belly. Pull it out pull it out and up out of the way, so you've got room to stretch forward. Your chest does not have to be on your front legs. Inhaling and exhaling. Breathing full and deep. If you've come really far forward, you might want to come up a little bit. Your right hand comes anywhere on that left leg. Keep grounding down and lifting up as you twist. So try to keep your navel pointed between your toes, and lift and rotate your heart then to the left. Inhaling and exhaling, and then you're going to bring yourself back to neutral. So heart and navel are stacked on top of each other, and then that left arm comes anywhere on that right leg. So now lift that heart and rotate, twist open to the right. So I'm really trying to get you to make the twist happen in your middle back, not so much your low back. Your low back gets all the twist it needs. The middle back gets nothing. All right, let yourself unwind, and then once again do a reset. So this is where you bend those knees and you windshield wiper back and forth. And you could, of course, decide, oh, I don't want to do the windshield wiper. Maybe you just want to do the gentle popping on the back of the legs on the mat, which is a wonderful feeling. Remember, even if you're back on your arms, like I'm still lifting in my trunk. All right, let's do this really wonderful hip that reminded me of this really wonderful hip opener that I absolutely love. And it involves that thumping. I am going to turn to face the long edge of my space just to have orientation and to be able to explain landmarks and stuff to help you with this movement. First, come into just seated, legs crossed. Notice how you feel. Find that anchoring in, find that lifting up. Notice how your hips feel, how your body feels on the floor, inhaling and exhaling. And then arms come behind, so you bring those legs back out in front of you, and then drop the knees to the right. And we're going to be moving the left leg. So you're seated on your right sitting bone. Your left leg and your left knee and right foot are not stacked on top of each other. And you're trying to press down into the mat. Really pay attention to that left butt cheek. There's probably still always going to be room there, but you're trying to press down and then lift up. And of course you can use the block here if that helps you stay in that lifted position. I've got both feet flexed and I've engaged from navel dimples down for that support, and then I'm engaged navel dimples up for that lift. Keeping all that awareness on what's happening in your body, not letting go of the engagement as much as you can. Start to thump on the floor, that back leg. And it doesn't have to be a big move. It doesn't have to be a big thump. Just a few times, inhaling and exhaling. So what you're doing is you're giving the fascia a little massage, breathing full and deep. All right, and then pause. I want you to bring your legs. Don't worry, I'll remind you that we went right first and we're going to go left second. I want you to bring your legs back around, and I want you to, if you want, do a reset. And then after a couple times, I want you to sit back in that cross-legged position, and I want you to notice, does your body feel a little bit different? Does one side feel a little bit more open than the other? Mine does, and I think that is amazing. And of course, I want to make it even, right? So I'm going to set my block up on the other side. I'm bringing those legs now to the left. I'm flexing, I'm engaging, I'm trying to pull that right bun down, breathing full and deep. I've got everything engaged, so I'm supported. And that right arm, it can really be with anywhere. It can be on the floor or on your hip. Let the thumping happen with that right leg a few times. Inhaling and exhaling. Staying with your breath, staying with the awareness of how your body feels. And then you can let the movement go. You can let the engagement go as much as feels good, but of course always keeping yourself supported as you move. And then do a reset posture and then come to sit once again and see if you can remember back to what your body felt like, what your hips felt like before we did that thumping, and then what it feels like now. To me, it's like night and day. There's so much difference, and it is amazing. And that is the magic of yoga. And so those residuals that are left behind are making deposits into, make sure you're drinking water, are making deposits into your muscle memory banks that you can draw on later in life. All right, bring yourself around onto those hands and knees, and we'll come into that child posture. Take a moment to make cushion for your knees. We're going to be in our knees for a bit. We are going to do some of those beautiful, I'm just going to, spoiler alert, we're going to do some fire hydrants. I love them. All right, press back into your child. You've walked your knees as much apart as feels good. And you are pressing all back with your whole self, and then also lifting and reaching with your whole self. And even though your face is in the mat, and this is called a resting posture, you are still engaged in order to support you. I've got my hands on blocks. It's a little bit more intense, so don't think you have to do that if it doesn't feel good in your body. Inhaling and exhaling, staying with the breath. No matter if you've got your arms up on blocks or not, you're trying to engage those girdles. You're always trying to pull that back body down for groundedness, and you're always trying to lift that front body for that rise that's happening even in child, even in table. We're lifting to that stable table. Now you walk those knees right underneath those hips, and you get those hands right underneath those shoulders. Spread those fingers wide, engage that top part of your hand, and then you even can lift your back part of your palm to really feel that engagement in the upper part, and then bring that lower palm down, and hopefully you feel a little bit of protection there where it protects your delicate place. Don't hyperextend those elbows. In fact, keep them a nice soft bend, and if you can, rotate them so your eye creases face the same direction as your fingers, pulling those shoulders down out of your ears, tucking those blades down. You're not squeezing them together to start with. And then once you are in that place, you start to move into that little tiny cat and cow with the low back, just to feel yourself find that place of support. It is always pull down and lift up, and then squeeze blades together, pull apart, squeeze blades together, pull apart. Just do that a couple times, getting into a few nooks and crannies, and then pause, pulling them apart, and then your cat and cow is in the middle back. So I have distinctly taken you through three parts of your back: the low back, and then the upper back, and then the middle back. Once again, I'm trying to get you to really focus and put the movement more in the middle back as you protect your low back and your upper back, and you do that by engaging those girdles. You're never hurting your limbs. Few more cat and cows. Press evenly into your arms, both on the cat and on the cow. And then let the movement come to that neutral position. Let yourself now release the engagement and come back into your child. It feels really good, I think, especially if you had all that engagement, to bring your hands down by your sides, really letting everything just open. Feel your whole back just opening, like coming from the spine outward. Just feel it melt, breathing full and deep. Feel yourself flexing to get that stretch on the inside. And then here's where you want to make sure you've got room behind you. And I'm going to be moving to show you what this looks like. So make sure you've got room behind you. I'm turning this way to start with because we're going to do those fire hydrants. I love to use blocks, and it also helps with a lift where we're going to reach out. So not only, I should take that back, should you be able to press behind you, but make sure you can reach out beside you. You're not right by a wall that way or a big piece of furniture. Pressing evenly into the right and left arm. And the right and left side, lift that right knee up as high as feels good. Stay lifted. I know it doesn't look like that knee is right underneath that hip, but it actually is. That's why I have to lift up so much higher and still maintain that squareness of your upper girdle. You can let some circles happen or a few pulses. You take a gander back to make sure that that foot and that knee are in the same plane. Inhaling and exhaling. You're getting a workout on both sides. Keep lifting. You're getting a workout all over. Keep lifting. Inhale and exhale. Pause if you can. Press that leg out to the side. Breathing full and deep. Lift that leg as high as you can. Bend that knee. Now turn that hip so it's pointing down. Press that right heel back to the back of your space. Keep those hips nice and square, and then let those right toes float to the left side. And then you're keeping the hips square, you're keeping the shoulders square. Now you're reaching that leg behind you to the left, that right leg to the left, and then pause and look over that left shoulder to get that stretch. Inhale, and hopefully you feel that all down that side, and then you're going to let that right leg come down to meet the left, and then let yourself rest in that child. Take a moment to notice how your right side feels compared to your left side. So you're working both, but you're getting that stretch on that one side, especially if you add that engagement. Once you release it, I mean, that's where all that magic is happening. Remember, keep drinking water, lift yourself up, coming into that stable table position, lifting that left side, trying to keep your trunk square, keep engaging your girdle so you pull that tail down. So you keep that low back, not supporting your body. You're supporting yourself in the girdle, in the hip girdle and the shoulder girdle. Let the pulses or the circles, whatever feels good, keep trying to lengthen crown and tail, even though you're in this super awkward position. And even if your knee is not as high as mine, you are still getting some. And then just pause and press. And even if your foot is not as high as mine, pressing through that heel wherever does not matter. And then bend, you're still getting it. Come with that leg behind you, press through that heel, keep those hips nice and square, and then let those, so you keep your hips square, and then you press that left leg over the right, so you cross the midline, find the ball, and then look over that right shoulder as you try to keep the shoulders evenly square over the mat. And then bring yourself back into that child, resting completely. Inhaling and exhaling. Always paying attention to how you feel and taking care of yourself. Always make sure that you pause and rest when you need to. Always make sure that you take care of the most delicate and vulnerable parts of you, and that is your fingers or your toes. And so that means if those are your most delicate and vulnerable parts, you're not giving them a lot of work, right? You're always putting everything into your trunk. The trunk is definitely not, I mean, it's vulnerable because you're human, but it's the strongest part of you, and that's where you're learning to hold yourself is in that trunk, and specifically in your girdles, which we're not taught that, and we have all these little back issues, and then our limbs don't know how to work, and then we're using our toes for too much. Everyone uses their big toes for way too much. All right, spread those fingers wide, engage into that stable table, go through any of that engagement to get into that stable table. Stay in that engaged trunk position as you bend or curl those toes, keep those knees bent, lifting that lower trunk up to the sky. Inhale and exhale. Make sure that upper trunk, that upper girdle is engaged so you're protecting your shoulders. You're not hyperextending your elbows, trying to still turn the hip creases, the elbow creases to point in the same direction as your fingers. And remember, the weight is at the top part, not the palm. Inhaling and exhaling. And it's not all the weight, it's just where the majority of the weight is. You're still holding yourself in your trunk. The more I lift with my lower trunk, I take the weight off those arms. Keep those knees bent. Move as much as feels good and make sure you find your balls. Yes, it feels good to come up on your toes, but give those toes a break and find your balls. Your heels are heavy. Inhaling and exhaling, breathing full and deep. And then make your way to the front of your space, whether you drop down to your hands and knees or whether you walk a bunch of steps. It doesn't matter how many steps, or you do some sort of silly walk up to the front of the space. You're finding yourself in that forward fold. We've been here kind of before. Make sure there's nothing in front of you like this. I almost was going to hit my head here. I thought I was. All right, balls and heels. You're finding your weight in between those two places. It's almost halfway between coming into a somersault or falling back on your ass. Find your place of balance in between. The more you bend your knees, the more you find that balance. And then once you find the balance, move in whatever way feels good, whether it be the weighted dangle or the arms down at your side. Keep bending those knees. Keep finding that hip hinge. Breathing full and deep. And then eventually you're going to be done with the movement coming into that forward fold. Remember, keep those knees really bent. That helps to put the weight in the back body. We're going to inhale halfway, flat back. Really put the weight in the back body. Exhale, reach for your toes. Inhale halfway, flat back. Exhale, reach for your toes. The next time we come up, it's that great big reverse swan dive unless you feel dizzy, and then come up in stages. Only lifting your arms up over your head if it feels good to you. Inhaling and exhaling, lifting and reaching. Always keeping those girdles engaged. Finding your stance, your mountain stance. At the top of your space, you are plugging in with the balls and the heels, lifting all 10 toes, spreading them wide for that gentle grip as they reach forward on the mat. Kneecaps up into the thighs. Make sure, I forgot to mention, your toes are pointing the same direction as those hip flexors. You've got the kneecaps up into the thighs, and then those thighs plug right into that lower trunk, and it's a gentle tuck of the back body and then a lift of the front body. There is muscle engagement as well as frame manipulation. That navel and those dimples are where you're grounding down from, and then that navel and those dimples are where you are rising up from. Think about trying to lift that heart and then gently pull those blades, tuck them in. Keep pressing the crown of your head up. Keep pressing the tail down and keep stretching yourself as wide as feels good. You have that whole 3 feet around you. Take up all that space. Inhaling and exhaling. And then from your mountain at the top of your space, lift into as much of a back bend as feels good. Always keep those girdles engaged. Exhale, swan dive. Keep those girdles engaged as you lengthen over that those legs to come into that forward fold halfway, flat back, to come back down, to step back. We're coming into that plank, knee down plank or table, totally up to you. Keep those girdles engaged. Keep those shoulders out of your ears, elbows right by your side. Release to the belly. Press that pelvis to pull it up. Pull that tail down. Remember, it is muscle and framework. Come into your cobra. Maybe it's just baby cobra, or maybe you feel more comfortable coming up to a fuller cobra or up dog. Keep those legs active, whatever it is you're deciding to do. Protect yourself by either lengthening down or curl your toes right where you're at. And lift your body up into that downward dog, the ultimate stretch. Keep breathing. Stay aware of your navel and feel yourself moving from the navel is your center. All right, make your way to the front of your space, coming into that forward fold. Make sure you feel steady, halfway, flat back, back down to the toes, and then lift on the inhale up to the back bend. Exhale brings you forward into the forward fold, only moving as fast as feels good. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale down to the forward fold, stepping back on an inhale to the plank. Exhale, release to the belly. Inhale, lift into your cobra or your up dog. Exhale, back into your downward dog. Full deep breaths. Take a couple here and then make your way to the front of your space. Forward fold. It's an inhale to help bring you halfway up. It's an exhale to help bring you a little bit closer to the floor. It's an inhale to help lift you up off the floor, coming into that stretch. And then it's an exhale to help you get a little bit deeper in your hinge. And inhale halfway to help you lift. Exhale halfway to help you come down. Stepping back into the plank, knee down plank. Exhaling to the floor, and inhale helps you lift into your cobra. And then the exhale helps you pull into that downward dog. Make sure you find those balls. You're not making your toes do all the work. Make your way to the front of your space. Find that forward fold, halfway, flat back, back down, and lift into that back bend. Come through to that forward fold, halfway, flat back, stepping back, bearing your weight, coming through the plank or the knee down plank to the belly. Only lifting. Remember to engage those girdles as much as feels good. Use your muscle and your framework. This third one, pause 2 to 3 breaths in that downward dog, and then make your way to the child, resting completely. Make sure that you are taking drinks and resting as you need to. Inhaling and exhaling, staying with your breath. And then coming to your downward dog, and of course you can come through table in order to do this. And once again, I have got my hands on blocks, and you don't have to have your hands on blocks. In fact, it's a little bit more intense, so be careful whenever you're using props, and make sure you're always protecting yourself. I come into the downward dog, and then I step my left foot a little bit closer in order to have that nice solid base. I'm always trying to square my right shoulder, my right side and left side to the mat as I bend that knee, that right knee, and try to bring it to the sky so my hips are open. I've got that left heel all the way on the ground, and I'm keeping that left knee nice and supported. So it's like I'm trying to keep my heart anchored square and then lift my navel from or try to stretch my navel to the right. Inhale and exhale. You can move that leg around. And then we're going to bring that leg, and of course you can do this in table, a three-legged table. We're going to bring that right foot, and if you can bring it all the way up in one fell swoop, great. If not, take as many steps as you need. Now I'm gonna get my stance back a little bit more just because I had it really close for the downward dog. I've got my left heel smeared down. If you're not quite there or don't like that, leave that left heel up, but keep that right knee bent. Always trying to keep those hips square as you come into your warrior one or your crescent. Inhale and exhale. You're protecting that kneecap. Always pulling that kneecap up into your thigh. Inhale and exhale. Hands come. They don't have to stretch any more than you pretend like you're putting them in your back pockets. Really ground down with that lower body. Lift that navel, or lift that heart. So ground down with the navel, lift that heart, and then let that right shoulder try to come somewhere near that right knee. Keep bearing down with your hips so you're heavy that way. Keep squaring. Inhaling and exhaling. And then bring those hands out from underneath. Now pop that left heel up if you had it smeared down, coming into that runner's lunge. And then step back into the downward dog or release down to go through that flow. It really is up to you, whatever feels good. Inhale and exhale. And then it's going to be all about lifting the left side, finding that stretch, trying to bring that left knee up. Keep the heart square. Stack those hips on top of each other. Inhaling and exhaling. Moving around however feels good, and then pulling yourself into your runner's lunge. Doesn't matter what it looks like. You can even leave the heel up on this. I mean, it doesn't have to look the same on either side. It doesn't have to look the same, but I hope you feel the engagement the same. Bend of that left knee, pressing up into your warrior one crescent. Keep trying to square those hips. So you might have to widen your stance as far as you should be kind of on railroad tracks. Though with the heel down, I always try to line up the heel, and sometimes there's a line there. But you've got to do what feels good for your body. Hands come into, I actually have back pockets. So I'm going to bring my hands into my back pockets and then pull those blades down and those elbows back. Keep trying to square that right side to the front of my space, hinging into, so I'm trying to bring the left shoulder somewhere near that left knee, hinging into that humble warrior. You can also let the head dangle, but just be careful. Inhale and exhale. Breathe here for a couple more breaths. Remember, those left front toes are not doing the work. And then let yourself release. Come into that runner's lunge. Now you pop that heel up, and now let those hips get heavy as you settle into the runner's lunge. And then stepping back, moving into just the downward dog or going through the flow. Inhale and exhale, and then pulling to downward dog. And after a couple breaths in downward dog, let yourself rest completely in your child, breathing full and deep. Navel, ribs, chest. Exhaling fully, chest, ribs, navel. You're drinking water. You're staying with your breath. And then here's another place where sometimes blocks feel good, and I want you to play around and figure out what works for you. But also, if you try it and it's just too much, then don't do it. Don't put yourself through agony. All right, reaching those arms forward, engaging those girdles so you stay nice and protected. You're in that child. We're going to pull up into that table, bringing ourselves into that stable table, inhaling and exhaling, breathing full and deep. This is what I want to do. Okay. And then lift that right arm, bring that right arm then underneath are through that left hand, left knee. Keep pressing evenly into your knees and let yourself settle onto that right shoulder. Pay attention to your neck. Always make sure that you are protecting it. And then you can also reach that left arm forward. Keep trying to square those shoulders to the mat. You can also lift that left arm, or you can bend that right elbow and then stack the hands on top of each other. I am twisting at the middle back. I am keeping my navel pointed to the ground, and now I am twisting my heart away. Inhale and exhale. All right, whatever you're doing, you're bringing both arms back into that place of support, and then press yourself back into your child. Notice how you feel. And then it is about the other side. Take your time. Do not hurt yourself. Think about trying to keep your navel pointed down towards the floor as you come to rest wherever feels good. And there's always like steps to, and this is a big shoulder opener. Inhale and exhale. Press evenly into the right and the left leg. And then pick yourself up from the twist. And this is one of those poses that kind of sometimes feels funny. So don't give yourself a hard time if you're like, I feel really funny. That twist, especially because you bring your heart like lower than your center of gravity, and so it kind of can mess with your head. But you paying attention to how you feel, that right there, that action is what makes you stronger. All right, take your time. Lift yourself up. We're going to bring that right foot back up between those hands. Doesn't matter if it is through runner's lunge or table, bringing that right foot up between those hands or those blocks. If you do have that left knee down, you can curl the toes and then smear the left foot down. We're going to open up into that warrior two. Keep engaging those girdles. Drop that tail. Lift those hip flexors. Lift that heart. Pull those blades down and stretch from your center. Find your heart. Find your navel and stretch from your center. Try to feel the pinky toe side of that back left foot. Try to feel the balls from the big toe to the pinky toe. Inhaling and exhaling. That right knee has a tendency to come inward. You really have to rotate the muscle on the inside in order to get that knee to point more towards the pinky toe. We're going to hinge into that side angle. Inhaling and exhaling. That left arm coming up. Keep pulling that tail down. Lift, lift, lift into that reverse triangle to then come into a regular triangle. I don't really want you to reach and I want you to keep those hips engaged, and I want you to hinge. That is what this is a hinge. Leave that left arm up towards the sky. Keep pulling that shoulder blade so you can rotate that heart up to the sky. Breathing full and deep. Look down towards the mat. Make sure you've got room in front of you. You're not going to hit your head, and we're going to come into a balancing revolved. And you have to lift and pull yourself up. I hope I'm not off the screen. Yep. And then press through that heel. Lift that right side. Inhaling and exhaling. Bring those hands down on either side of that right foot. Lift that left side up as high as feels good. Coming in. This is a hinge. Coming into that standing split. And then bend that right knee. Let those left toes come down gently, never harshly. Coming back into the plank, knee down plank, moving through the flow, or just pulling up to the downward dog. Inhaling and exhaling, and of course resting in that child is always an option. I'm going to turn around so I can stay facing you. You're going to bring that left leg up between your hands, the blocks, whatever you're using. coming into that runner's lunge, smearing down that back leg to lift into your warrior two. Take a moment to find your setup. Bring those tails down. Lift those hip flexors. Find your center, navel, heart. Stretch from that place. Remember, both kneecaps up into your thighs. Keep rotating that left thigh now so it opens up. And we come into the hinge, into the side angle. Keep trying to lift your whole right side up to the sky. Keep trying to bring your left side down to the floor and then bring it to the sky. All right, lift into that warrior two. Stay engaged. Pull yourself up by your trunk. Reverse to come into that triangle. And then this is a hinge. That is what this is. Keep lifting up. So you are in control coming into your triangle. Inhale and exhale. And then we played around a little bit with our balance and playing with our center of gravity. And I like to get a nice setup and then pull myself into that. I've got that left arm up. I'm pressing down with that right arm, pressing back with that right heel. My left knee is really, really bent in order to help keep me. And this is almost like it is a hinge. And then you're hinging down into that standing split, lifting that right leg, protecting that left leg that you're standing on. And then very gently bring those toes down. Keep yourself in that runner's lunge until you step back or drop to your knees. Move through a flow or just press back to the downward dog. If you do the flow, rest in that dog and then make your way down to your child, inhaling and exhaling, staying with your breath. And then after you rest in child, find yourself on your seat. Making sure that you are comfortable in your seat. Try to engage those girdles so you feel connected and then also lifted. You can let your eyes close. Your hands could be at your heart, belly, one of each, or just out to the side. I love to make the peace sign. Plug in. All right, we're going to find that comfortable seat. Make sure your base is however feels good to you. Really ground down from navel dimples down. At the same time, you're going to lift navel dimples up, lifting up over your head and then twisting side to side. Doesn't matter which side you start with. And then pause. I've got my right arm behind. That left hand is coming to that right knee. Those shoulders are pulled out of my ears. I'm breathing full and deep. And then lift to rotate to the other side, breathing full and deep. I'm always trying to pull my navel so it is square between my hips, and now I'm rotating my heart. And then back with the heart on top of the navel, pausing, hands wherever feel good. Make sure you still feel comfortable. Bring that chin down towards your chest. And let one ear come over one shoulder. Letting that head roll side to side. You might hear some creaks or cracks in your neck. Excuse me. I'm going to pause with that left shoulder over, or my left ear over my left shoulder so my right side of my neck is open. You can always do the other way. Just make sure you manage that. You do all the sides. Keeping that right side open, I'm going to let that right arm just kind of tiptoe out just to get a little bit more. You can even let that arm lift or gently reach behind you, always making sure that you do not strain yourself too much. And then let some circles happen with the head, like you're using your nose to make a circle or go up and down, and then get into that jaw. This is not pretty, but it really gets some stuff moving around. So I'm really working to open up that right jaw, moving it around in all the directions. I can definitely hear stuff in there. And when that stuff gets moving around, then it opens up. All right, pause the jaw, bring the arm back from wherever it is, bring the head back into that neutral position, go side to side a couple times, and then let yourself move to a counter opposite side. So now my right ear is over my right shoulder, my left neck is more exposed. I'm going to let those left fingers just dance out to the side. Everything is engaged. Starting with just the big circles or little circles with the head. This is not a big move. Breathing full and deep. Going in that gentle head nod or gentle shoulder head shake. And then pause. Start the jaw opener. Make sure you go in all the directions. Remember, it doesn't matter what it looks like. It matters what it feels like. Hopefully that feels amazing to you. It does to me. And then you're going to let that go. You're going to pause. You're going to come back to your center. Move side to side and then lift your head. Keeping the right below your chin parallel, so like you're keeping it parallel to the floor. So keep your nose not up, not down, but right out of your face. Turn and look over your right shoulder and then look over your left shoulder. Back and forth. Don't lift that nose into the air and don't dip it to the floor. Keep it parallel to the ground. That's you pressing your crown up. Couple more. This is a gentle twist side to side at the neck, being very careful. And then put that movement aside. You can let yourself make your way onto your back. If you've got a few moments to lay in relaxation, I encourage you to. If you don't want to lay in relaxation, you can also sit in meditation, 5, 7, 8, maybe 10 minutes. You have worked up all of that wonderful, wonderful, that juju, and things are moving around, and it's those residuals are being left in your muscle memory. They're being deposited into your muscle memory banks so you can draw on this for resilience later when you need it. And every time you practice it, you get a little bit more and a little bit more. And so you are accumulating, and I know you can't see it like you can material things, but you definitely know when it is working, and I encourage you to keep working at it. So take a few moments to rest if you can. I will see you next time. Namaste. Take care.